So we've got off the bench.
Off the bench, Chaser. We're starting this thing off. It's a podcast about ex-athletes trying to find a way to, keep that passion and discipline that we are, so well known for and only know in our lives, right, after sports, And so, how do you continue to live a life with intention? And I think we started this by trying to find. We were bored. Right. I mean, and so we're not necessarily even making a podcast to become famous or whatever have you be it, but just to keep a living record of our process here and to give us a challenge, I guess, mentally and socially to accompany what we've already partaken in. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that passed the time. I mean, as you know, we both work in a school. It's real boring. After 4 o'clock, there's nothing to do. So this will give us something to do.
Absolutely, yeah. So after we get our teaching and coaching done for the day, we need some sort of challenge for us. And so, what we have decided to do, I guess, first off, let's introduce everybody into what we've decided to do. We've decided to take on the Hard 75 Challenge. And so for the people that don't understand what that is, basically you have to partake in 2 workouts per day, one of them being outside. And you have to stick to a diet. You have to read 10 pages a day. And what else? A gallon of water. Those are sort of the parameters we've set for ourselves. And I guess we kind of wanted to talk about why we started that and how it connects to sports, or our life in sports, and what brought us to putting ourselves through this challenge, even though we don't necessarily have to, and so I guess, Chaser, I guess we'll get into the story of how this started, but what made you want to get into this? What made you want to go through, say, 2.5 months, I'm getting 2 workouts a day, even on Saturday, and I'm just going to see how much I'm capable of?
I'll be honest, senior year football just ended. I'm bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm moving in with you. Nothing to do. I have somebody to hold myself accountable now. And I thought, you know what? What better time than now? Why wait? And, 2.5 months from that day, getting ready for spring break, might as well look good too.
Amen.
I'm trying to become a professional bodybuilder. I have a show here in about 25 weeks, and it keeps getting pushed back, sadly. But we're going to keep rocking from there, and it's great for a prep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the things that you said there are highly important. You got to understand where you're going, right? And so, life after sports, it does get a little bit boring because you have so much free time, right? And so what do we do with that free time where it's not waking up at 5 a.m. and going to bed at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and every single minute of every single day is planned for you, right? And so how do we lead our life with intention, understanding where we're going, and being able to, fill that time, not just with various mundane things that we typically do, like watching TV, etc., wasting our time sort of, but with things that are filled with purpose and help us achieve our goals. And so I think that's extremely important for everybody coming out of either college or high school sports, trying to figure out, what do I do with time? Because time is the only thing that we have, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the hardest thing for me was, up until now that I'm on such a strict schedule, it's great, beautiful. Coming straight out of it, the hardest thing for me was the fact that, wow, I really have nothing until noon. Wow, I don't have anything after 3 p.m. I could sleep all day if I wanted to. And I was just wasting myself away. So I really needed to dial back in and find out what I wanted to be, find my brand, figure out who I am again.
Correct,
and I think this is a great opportunity for that.
Yeah, and I think as, diving into it, I guess we should start with what did our lives look like before the Hard 75, and then the previous, we're 3 weeks into it. It is day 21 of it, and so what has the last 3 weeks looked like versus what did they look like before for you, I guess?
Yeah. So for me, like I said, senior year football just ended. So coming out of that, yeah, I'm a huge gym goer. Love the gym. It is my therapy place. I go every day for a minimum of 2 hours a day. But I was still a student at the time. Now I have a lot less of a class load. I was getting bored with myself. Winter break was a mess. All I did was work. I was working overtime just so that I wasn't bored. And it was just me trying to find that schedule. Couldn't really keep a schedule just because it's hard as a student athlete to come out of athletics and honestly just become a student at that point.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest thing for me. Coming into it, that's what I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to reiterate myself, reset out my schedule. Honestly, I just wanted to be an athlete again and find that challenge like I had while playing football in college. Because, like you said, with college football, from 5 a.m. till 8 p.m., my entire day was planned out by the minute. After that, I had nothing. It was, oh, you have a 10 a.m. class. Your last class is at 2 o'clock. Everything else is on you. You don't have team meals. You don't have team lift. You don't have 5 a.m. conditioning.
Right.
None of it. So that's the biggest thing I was looking for. I was lost looking back. Over these past 3 weeks, I found that schedule again. I'm up every day at 4:30 right there with you. And our day ends at 6 o'clock when we could get home from football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, for me, I was a year and a half removed from sports and college in general, right? I've been teaching for a year and a half now, coaching for 3 or 4. And so, being a year and a half removed from that sort of daily grind, I had lost the sort of self-discipline, and what you're saying about sports is it gives you sort of that high, right, of doing challenging things and getting through. Yes, the process is grueling and grinding and it's hard to get through, but once you finish it, right, you sort of get that sort of runner's experience it through it, right, the runner's high, and you sort of get that sort of high of doing hard things. And I had gotten out of it of making myself uncomfortable. I had gotten so comfortable sort of with who I was and what my daily time looked like. Yeah, I had my sort of daily schedule of I got to be at work on time here and leave work then, and then I go home. But what am I doing at home? I was sort of wasting time just to go to bed, right, and get or getting too much sleep at times, or there was a lack of intention and there was a lack of routine.
Yes.
And I had fallen out of it and been comfortable with being. At that time, I'm still working out 3 or 4 times a week because that's just we've always been. I think since we were little, growing up in the same family, we've always been preached to about physical health and what that means for not only your physical but your mental health as well. But I was still probably 10 or 15 pounds overweight of what I could have been, or what I am now actually, and just in just a few weeks, and. Mentally, I wasn't being challenged. I wasn't finding new perspectives. I was sort of set in my ways, and so it affected me in my job. And as especially as a teacher and a coach, you get those adults that are sort of set in their ways, and there's a lack of flexibility. There's a rigidity there, and something that you forget that what college or being a student is all about is experiencing new ideas, and
right.
and so out of that you sort of get set in your own ways and you become, I guess, for lack of a better word, just lazy, right? And so with all that free time, it's like, what do I do with it? Well, most people live their days, every single day, not knowing exactly why they're doing what they're doing. And so how do we combat that feeling of A, being lost, or B, just wasting our time here on earth, right? And so wasting our experience. Well, we have to be intentional with our time, and I think that's what these 3 weeks have taught me is I want to wake up at 4:30 every day so that I can start my day off the right way, right? I don't want to wake up at 6:30, have to shower, change, rush to work, and then all of a sudden now I'm all, out of sorts, right? I'm out of sorts just to start my day.
Right.
I've got to wake up at 4:30 so I can stretch, meditate, read, and then get my workout in, right? Release those endorphins and things those are good feeling chemicals. And then I can start my day. And then all of a sudden I've maxed myself out in the morning, and then I can max myself out for the rest of the day. It
Right.
goes up from there,
Yes,
right?
That's the starting point, and it goes straight up from there. One thing I really like that you said there, you emphasized intention, and you also mentioned comfort. I think comfortable is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
You should not find comfort. You should constantly be pushing yourself to be uncomfortable, because that's where the most growth is made, whether that's mentally, for your mental health, your ability to make it through the day without getting upset, or physically. I mean, physical gains when being uncomfortable is the key. The key to making physical gains is being uncomfortable. You've noticed that in the past 3 weeks because we've lifted every single morning,
Right.
as well as hitting an outdoor workout every day. I personally think I've grown exponentially, and I can tell the same with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing there is, you see the physical growth, but also the challenge of going to the gym twice a day, right? Like the morning workouts, we're morning people. Even though I don't think there's such thing as a morning person, right? I think that's a myth. I think you either wake up or you don't, right? It's not necessarily fun all the time.
Whether you got to wake up an hour before you need to be somewhere,
Right.
Yeah.
But we do well. Like we do well in the morning, right? And so, that workout, we get our lift in, and it's about energy and production, and that's really when we're killing it. The thing about the afternoon workout is, we've done full day's work. We mentally, emotionally, there's a lot of highs and lows especially in education, right? And so, you're typically a little bit tired after the day, and then you have to make the decision, the choice of, man, my legs don't want to move after doing leg day this morning, but I got to go run 3 miles, and that's just what it is, right? Because that's on the plan, that's on the schedule, and that's, I can't make that schedule and then lie to myself.
Yeah, that's that discipline factor, that making
Right.
good habits, making the choice to make yourself better, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you talk about habits, and why are habits so important after being a student athlete?
So I'm currently reading Atomic Habits.
Yeah, great book.
Love the book. And I really like the key focus of the idea of getting 1% back every day. So basically what it talks about is making lagging gains. You're not going to see any changes in 1 week, in 2 weeks. We're finally reaching that point to where we're seeing about 30% growth because we've gotten 1% better every day. I personally think we both have.
Yeah.
So the whole point of that is if you get 1% better every single day, over the course of a year, you're going to be 365% better. But you have to make the habitual choice to make those good choices rather than the bad ones. Because, I can do a great day, have my morning lift, everything, and then I skip that evening run or that evening yoga or even going outside and sitting on a bike for 20 minutes.
Right.
That turns that day into either a 0 or a -1%. So it's really up to your own choices whether you make that exponential growth or whether you just stay at the bottom.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point about when you decide not to do those things, you're not only are you staying the same, but you're getting worse. And I think Marcus Aurelius hints at this in Meditations. And as soon as you stop the process of getting better, you become worse, right? Because the people, not only are you giving in to yourself, right, and you start the process of decline, but also whatever your chosen endeavor is, right? Whether that be physical, mental, emotional, whatever your goal is in those, there are people that are working in those endeavors as well. And so it's up to you to decide really how good or how great do you want to be compared not only to yourself, but there is a sort of competition there that you can, even if it's not real, right, that you can imagine. In sports it is real. Yes. Right? You're either, if you have a day where you stay the same, there's a team in your league, conference, in the nation or whatever it may be that got better, right? And so staying the same is not staying the same, it's getting worse, right? They're climbing while you're here, and so that gap widens, right? And so you can, as a person who is now out of it, can still imagine that mindset of, okay, maybe I'm going for a promotion, right, at work, and there's multiple people that are working for that promotion. So am I getting 1% better at my job, at my profession? Or if I stay the same today, did someone else get that much better? Did they widen the gap, right?
See, I like how you're bringing up the gap, because that is our motto this year for Northwestern football.
Right.
Close the gap. So you have a little story behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I don't know if it's cliche or not. I don't know. I think it's a great mindset though, because, it's all about being able to see people that have had more success, that you're equally capable as them, and deciding for yourself is losing enough, right? And I think it's our team motto, right? But it's also personal, whereas I think you have to decide if being average on a daily basis, not showing up on a daily basis, just getting it in, just surviving, just getting through, or not even reaching the bar, right? Not even getting out of bed when you're supposed to get out of bed because the blankets are warm or whatever, right? Yeah. I mean, just simple things like that. When is losing? When is being an average person? Yeah, when are you going to get tired of it, right? And so you've got to make the decision to be 1% better every single day. So that gap, right? We're closing that gap every single day. And yes, they're going to get better. So what does that mean for us? Our 1% has to be higher than their 1%.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've got, not only do we have to close the gaps in our own program, or our own lives, but we've got to be able to close the gap between us and them, right? And so if they get better here, we've got to get better here, right? And then continually get closer and closer until it's time to perform.
Yeah, and the good thing about that is you do become, as you are exponentially growing, you will hit that valley of despair. It's that point where you look like you're flatlining, but really looking at the fine details, you're still going up. And a lot of people look at that and they're like, wow, it's been 3 weeks, I don't see a change, I'm done. That's where you have to just bury down and stick it through. Because if you're only getting 1% better, well, maybe in 2 weeks, wow, you had a really good week, you're getting 2% better, and then 2% turns into 4, and then 6, and then soon you're just skyrocketing straight up.
It's the power of compounding, man. Yep, absolutely. And I think that, when you do get, you call it the valley of despair, and I love that, right? Because that's the biggest thing about the gym, right? Is that January 1st, everybody's in that gym, man. And then, heck, even by January 4th or 5th, it's empty again, right? And it's like people just expect your body to transform overnight. And it's discouraging, sure, but you've got to look at it over time, right? And be okay with small measured gains.
That's like my favorite thing ever. I take a progress picture every single day. It's just something I've done since I was about 16 years old.
Yeah.
And looking at the changes, the most recent one I've seen was 6 months ago. I was 260 pounds, and I was a big guy. Just not looking great. I was way over my weight that I needed to be, but at that time I thought I need to be as heavy as I can because I would have played D-line.
Right.
So I was making...
It was an athletic choice, yeah, absolutely.
So I was making those choices, and looking back at it now, I stepped on the scale this morning at 217, and I look so much better just even after 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge change.
Right, and I mean, let's put that in perspective. That's what 43 pounds in 6 months, right? And so that's a massive change.
It's huge.
It is, but it starts with a pound every couple of days.
You look at a month; those two pictures a month apart, from I think it was July to August. Doesn't look like there's much change.
Right.
Yeah, there was like 10 pounds maybe, if that, total. I think I had went down to, I was 264 pounds July 1st, I know that. And I think August 10th, when I stepped on the scale at camp, I was 253 pounds. And just that change, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look huge.
Right.
It wasn't a good 10 pounds that I lost.
Right.
But it was a change.
You got to lose those 10 pounds, those, whatever, good, bad 10 pounds in order to get to the good losses.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately that turns some people off, right? Because they don't understand that, a lot of people have a lot of work to do just to get to the good gains, right? And so we've got to lose a certain amount of weight in order to get to where I can start to build on a base,
right,
to make myself look the way that I want to,
yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's different for everybody. But I think that valley of despair it'll stop just probably about 85 to 90% of people, right? And maybe even more than that, right? They talk about the top 5%, so let's say 95% of people, when they get to that sort of plateau, or even maybe a little bit of adversity, right? That's even tougher, right? That dip right there, and they stop. They're done, and so it sort of weeds out, the men among boys. But the one thing that I think is really good and sort of helped me throughout my entire playing career, and in life afterwards, was. David Goggins talks about the idea of the cookie jar, yes, right? And I love the cookie jar, right? And the ability to understand that when things get tough, you can reach into the back of your mind, your memory of doing hard things, right? And say, okay, I've been through this before, even if it's a different task, right? Whereas I think, even if it's you're running, because I hate running. I hate long distance running. I can sprint all day, right? But I hate long distance running. And when I get to, right now, when I get to about 2.5, 2.25, 2.5, right? My mind starts to get into that sort of dip where I can't mentally get out of it, right? I want to tap out. And so I've got to reach into the cookie jar where, okay, maybe I haven't done any long distance, because I played all three sports that were 4 to 6 A to B, sprint, right? And so maybe I haven't done long distance running before, but I've done something similar enough to relate it and say, okay, I've done something like this before and I can get through this. Reaching into that cookie jar and understanding it's the self-efficacy, right? The ability to believe in oneself and your ability to do it, right? And so, I think that's the one thing that gets you through that valley or that plateau, is that, I've made so much progress. Why would I stop that progress, right? Why would I decline back to where I was before? I've already done it. I've already done something similar to this before. I can do it again. That type of thing.
I mean, let's relate that to life real quick. I
Yeah.
mean, we were both college students. We know what it's like to be broke.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, brother. Yeah.
I mean, even looking at it in a life standpoint, bills are coming up, paychecks running short. you've been able to cut corners and make that before.
Correct.
So that's just another way to look at that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then, working all summer. And another thing about being a college athlete, especially in your case, all 4 years, you're working all summer just to try to get enough saved up to where it can last you 3 seasons, right? Fall, winter, and spring. And so, because it's hard to you can't work. It's really hard to find that, to be able to find a job while you're being a student athlete in college.
And I know guys that do it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are plenty that do, yes.
But it's almost one of those where you have to choose your poison. Some of those guys will focus more on making the money so that they could get themselves through college rather than giving everything they had to get on the field.
Right.
And
there is a trade-off. There is a trade-off. I've never seen or been around. I was not a college athlete that was going to jump off the pages, but I have been around the guys that jump off the pages, luckily, and that was one of the fortunate things about my experience, is that I was around a lot of guys that went D1 and were crazy athletes, and then had a life redirection, whether it whatever it may be, and came to where I was at. And so I was around those guys that jumped off the pages, and very rarely did they do anything except go to class and work on football.
Yeah.
Right? And the guys that had to work, you do end up falling behind a little bit, I think.
I agree. I do. I agree with that.
Which I think is one of the positives of NILs and things of that nature. Not to get into that, but maybe one day. But I think the positive of college kids making money off their name is not necessarily a horrible idea.
I don't think it's horrible either.
I think we need to rein it in, but that's it. But well, what else, Chaser? What we got here?
So what you got on there?
Edit this part out. You want to take a break real quick?
Sure, let's take a break.
Alright, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a couple seconds. Alright, here we go. We're back with Off the Bench here. I think that's what we're calling it. We're going to roll with it. Yeah, I've decided that. Okay, so, we've already touched on this subject, but I think we need to do a better job of introducing really how we are living our lives, especially throughout the 75 days, or how we've changed it through the 75 days, but we plan on sort of maintaining throughout our really. I think this is a lifelong journey for this,
I agree with you there, yeah.
And so this idea really, we've been living with it for a really long time. At least I have, since I was about 15. Because my dad is actually the one who sort of instilled this in me. And so, the pillars of my life are we call them the 3 I's. And that's intention, intensity, and iteration. And we talked a lot about intention today, and we plan to talking about intensity, and we've actually talked about iteration as well, getting 1% better every day. And we'll go deeper into that subject of iteration and what it means to be consistently good and consistently bad and things of that nature. But one of the things that we really want to stress is how intentional we really are for everybody. And I think oftentimes this gets misunderstood or not understood fully. Just how intentional that you have to be in order to max yourself out. And so, yes, it's a little bit crazy. We're not saying that you have to live this way. Is there, tad bits of probably OCD within our family? I mean, this is probably true. Okay, there's a spreadsheet for everything.
Yes.
But I think what we want people to understand is this is what it looks like to max yourself out, to find, and we haven't even peaked the iceberg yet, right?
We can't even close to that peak.
I mean,
I really think right now we're finally getting out of that valley.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, what we want people to understand is that we're not saying we're even close to great yet, right? We're doing this in order to find exactly how much we're capable of, right? Because I think both of us were in a point in our lives where we were settling for what we thought was good. We were established, right? I guess
we were comfortable.
We were comfortable, right? We were established, I guess, and comfortable. And then this process has sort of taken us to a path where where's the peak? And the great part about this is there is no peak, right? It's about right, yeah, absolutely. It's about, okay, I found my limit here, and now how do I break through that limit? And so it's about being able to climb continually for a lifelong journey. And so I guess, Chaser, explain to us just how intentional you are with your schedule, because I think what people will know about this podcast is that out of us two, they most likely probably want to look like you, right? I mean, that's just what it is, right? And so they do. I think from a physical health standpoint, you're the expert here, and so I think what they'd want to know is, how do you plan your workouts? How do you plan your day? How do you plan your nutrition? I know that's putting you probably on the spot, but
perfect, because I could talk for days about this. So I've got my workout split up into, it's really 4 separate days, but it's constantly repeating. It's a little different than most people do. Most people pick a week and they split it. So what I've been doing is, your typical legs, chest, back, arms. So right now I'm really focusing on chest and arm growth. So that's where my nutrition comes in. When I'm talking nutrition, I'm talking how many grams of carbs I'm going to eat in a certain day. So I intentionally choose what days I am going to carb overload, because carbs are let's say the word, carbs are the most anabolic substance you can put in your body. It boosts your insulin and it increases growth exponentially there. So where that goes into is the night before I go, since we work out in the mornings, so I intentionally choose to overload the night before those certain days. So chest day is our third day or second day of the week. It's right after legs.
Yeah.
So after leg day, I will carb overload all throughout the day. Make sure that I'm hitting that 300 to 400 grams of carbs a day. So that way when I wake up in the morning, I'll be a little bit drier because I soaked up all the water in my body. But when I get that chest really full, it's pushing all those carbohydrates and all the good nutrients into the muscles so that they stay there in that area and increase growth right there.
Dude, I didn't even know that. That's awesome. Okay, see, now I'm learning things, because when to plan, when do I eat certain your macros or whatever, and when to not. That's I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's why I like to introduce a swing diet is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So we eat clean. We don't really follow a true fad diet, but
right. No.
I'm not really pro keto or any of that.
Yeah.
I like to know exactly what I'm putting in my body and have a reason to put in my body. So as we're both on a cut right now, I'm trying to hit my 210 grams of proteins a day. Trying to keep my fats down to a minimal or a maximum of 60 to 90 grams a day. That's really hard because we eat a lot of meat, but it's doable.
Yeah.
So that leaves carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are what I swing with. So, like I said, those days that I know that I'm going to want to overload. So that's the same day as my leg day and the same day as my back day. Because it'll boost recovery on my back as well as help growth of my arms and chest the next day.
See, I think that just emphasizes how intentional you are and what you have to be in order to find that growth, right? We talked about when people don't see that growth, they end up not carrying their action plan through. And so I think to maximize your growth, right, on the other end, right, when you do see growth, to maximize that growth, you have to be intentional with when you eat things, how you eat things, how are you planning your day? And so, I I really want everybody to understand that from 4:30 to 9 p.m., which is our lights out,
Yeah,
every minute of every day is really planned for us.
pretty much to a T.
You know-
Here, a minute by minute basis.
Right. And so, Saturday and Sunday are flex days. We don't have much plan there. Sunday is, we just have to get our workouts in and kind of make sure we're hitting everything that we said we were going to hit.
Right.
And then from there, it's sort of a flex day on the weekend for us. But, Monday through Friday from 4:30 to 9, everything's planned out. And that goes for nutrition. What are you eating? What are you putting into your body? Right. Do you know what you're putting into your body, right?
Exactly.
I mean, most people probably
They
don't.
don't. It's crazy because, especially when you're going into it, we eat a lot of whole foods. We're really good about that. A lot of people do not do that.
Yeah.
A lot of it is processed foods, microwavable meals. I mean, I get it. Running a rat race, it's crazy. It's busy.
Right.
How we've gotten around that is we meal prep on Sunday.
Yep.
So after we get done recording this, you've got 8 pounds of chicken sitting behind you that are cooked.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so that's the big thing is you need to read those nutrition labels. I mean, we really don't have to worry about it because we're cooking raw chicken.
Right.
There's a set nutrition on raw chicken. It's not going to be something super processed where there's a ton of additives.
Right.
Whereas if I was to go and get a banquet Salisbury steak and microwave it, who knows what I'm putting in my body?
Right.
I mean, I don't even know if it's meat.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. And we do have a leg up there, I think, because of just how we grew up. I mean, and just sort of understanding, how to meal prep. I mean, when you grow up in a family with, I have 2 younger siblings. I'm the oldest of 3. You're the oldest of 4,
Yeah.
right? And so, not only are we able to cook for ourselves, we're able to cook for a large crowd, right? And so, from a young age, right? Because, both of my parents were coaches, having 4 kids on your side and, teachers and what your parents do. And so, you're just running around constantly, and sometimes the oldest has to figure it out, right? And
You literally just figure it
yeah,
out.
and so we do have a leg up there, but we also have taken the time to educate ourselves, I think, right? And understand, that sort of takes time and work as well to understand how you're feeling, feeling yourself throughout the day and how that affects my energy level.
Right, yeah. I mean, for me, it's different than it is for you.
Right.
Like we were talking to your dad the other day.
Mhm.
He's a 300 grams of protein kind of guy.
He is.
I cannot do that. I will be on the toilet for an hour. It's just not fun for me.
He is, man, and he even takes it up to a different level than us. We have the same thing for lunch, and then typically you have 2 or 3 options for dinner
Right.
throughout the week. But we're still eating, chicken, rice, salmon, some potatoes here and there, but not a ton getting out of, what our main foods are. He does, he drinks 4 smoothies a day.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it.
4 smoothies a day, but he knows exactly what's in them. He knows all of the, calories, macros, all the nutrition, everything on the label, right? And he understands the goals he wants to get to, right? How much protein, how many carbs, what are his fats, what are calories look like. And if he does so and he maintains that throughout, a 6-month period, by the time we hit vacation in July, he's going to look exactly the way he wants to look.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's the intention that we're talking about is you've got to plan every meal. You really do.
You do.
You should. And yes, you may not have time. You may not have time throughout the week to do that. And so Sunday has got to be, whether you're getting your workout in Sunday morning, going to church, whatever it is that you do, whatever work that you do for your Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon has to be time to get your nutrition right and to set up your week for
I was
success.
going to say, not even just your nutrition, just to set up your entire week. I know I'm going to sit down after this and write out what I have to do this entire week.
Yeah.
I know I have certain posts to make for my job.
Right.
I know I have certain things I need to be ready for tomorrow. And I'm going to get my dress clothes ready for tomorrow already.
Yep.
because that's just
Yes.
how I function. I know that if I have everything ready on Sunday night, when I wake up Monday morning, it's one less thing I got to do.
And it makes everything a breeze,
Yes.
doesn't it? I mean, something as simple as putting your clothes together
Yeah.
in your gym bag for the next day, laying your clothes out for the next day,
Yeah.
with the night before. It takes maybe, I mean, for some people it might take them 10 minutes to decide what they're wearing that day.
Right.
And so we eliminate that 10 minutes.
Especially like when we get home at 6 o'clock, we go straight, either we're reading, we're watching TV, we're cooking dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take 3 hours until lights out.
No.
I mean, when lights go out, I'm in bed and I'm out cold.
Yeah, absolutely.
5 minutes to fall asleep.
Yes.
So if I take 10 minutes before I go to bed, toss my phone to the side, don't touch it, and put those clothes in my gym bag. Maybe I want to throw together my clothes I'm going to wear in the morning. It's right there ready for me when I wake up. When I get out of bed, I've been rolling out of bed about 3:50 in the morning, getting up, using the bathroom, brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And it's ready for me. I don't have an extra thing to worry about.
And it helps with decision fatigue, right? And being able to maintain being fresh in the morning, right? And that energy that we're talking about, that's so important to get work done and to be concentrated and focused, right? It takes zero focus to decide that I'm wearing my black dress pants and my blue button down on Tuesdays,
Yes.
right? Because, I mean, I'm a guy that I wear a lot of the same things.
I do as well. I mean, it's my tan pants and the blue shirt that you love.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, man. That's a slick thing. That's a slick outfit too. And you know what? You look good. You understand, understand what your brand is, what you're wearing, and how people perceive you.
That's one thing I do love. I want to iterate on that is I'm the kind of guy that's going to overdress for everything. I love looking good because when I look good, I feel good.
Yes.
And I feel like I do my best work when I'm dressed better than everybody else. It puts me on a pedestal almost.
And it's the intention behind that, right? Is I've never been a guy that could get work done in my PJ pants, man.
I have not. If
Right.
I wear my PJ pants, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, and so I've never understood, wearing sweatpants to work or wearing, I've never understood, this depends on your job, but I've first just never understood dressing down, right? And yes, everybody around you is probably going to dress down. Dressing up doesn't mean that you're arrogant or that you feel, that you're putting yourself on that pedal, but maybe as from a self-confidence standpoint, do you feel better? Then you get more work done. You get better work done.
I will say another thing here. One of my things that I hate is when I walk into the gym and I see a kid in there in a torn up t-shirt and sweatpants.
Yeah.
It's just not a good look. I like to brand myself on social media as
Right.
a fitness influencer.
That's a big deal for you. Yeah.
It's huge for me. It's my passion. I'd love it to become a career one day. And I like to intentionally dress. Today I wore all black. That's how I intentionally dress for the gym.
Right.
I repped a certain brand. I repped Sornox today
Yeah.
because I am a huge fan of Sornox and what they do. I actually got to do a little bit of a interview with them over last July and learned some bench basics and stuff like that. Just certain things that I love. I want to brand myself around.
Right.
And I intentionally choose, it doesn't seem like it, but I do intentionally choose every gym workout. Well, every gym outfit for my workout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's certain t-shirts I hate to wear when I bench press because it's got writing on the back, and when I sweat it gets slick or something like that.
That's fair. That you got to think about those things. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I guess to wrap it up, I think what we're getting at is that we're intentional from 4:30 to 9. I think, and right now we weren't. We were not. But we wanted to be. And I think this process of figuring out what it is where we want to go first and reverse engineering, right? The biggest thing is, what are my goals? And I think the way that we set those up are, physical, mental health, our job, or, a chosen endeavor. And then, kind of within that, our finances,
Yes.
and then our relationships, right? And I think those are sort of I think both you and I are both kind of aligned within those sort of 4 pillars of our life, right?
And let's talk a little bit about relationships too. Let's
Right.
talk about how that does become intentional.
And I think this is the biggest, this is something that I emphasize to our young men all the time. Just because, you want to be intentional with your life and your goals and maintain your ambition, and especially, as a young man, and you want to be intentional with your finances and being able to support yourself and eventually hopefully other people, because we want to raise good husbands and hopefully our young men find that job to be the most important job in their lives, right?
Yes.
But your relations, being intentional within your relationships, we stress to them and to ourselves, I think it is the most important thing outside of yourself, outside of your daily intention with yourself. The most important thing, the thing that will determine your success.
Right. I see exactly where you're getting at right now.
And I think that who you surround yourself with, it's the old cliche saying, and that's you are the sum of the 5, the average of the 5 people you hang out with. And I don't know if everybody has ever heard of that. I grew up with it, choosing friends and people to spend time with, but you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with, and being intentional with who you choose to hang out with will determine your success in life.
So one thing I really love, a quote that I love, I'm not sure if it's original from it, but I'm a huge Letterkenny fan. Huge Letterkenny fan. And newest season's been a little bit different. It hadn't been as much comedy, but there's an episode where they talk about, show me who your friends are and I'll show you who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's great going into who you surround yourself with. If I'm surrounding myself with people who are, let's be honest, we're not the same guys we used to be.
Oh yeah,
we're
absolutely.
not out partying every single night.
No.
I woke up on a Sunday morning and didn't have a hangover. It's probably the first time, it's not the first time, it's been 3 weeks now, but
yeah,
let's be real.
Right, absolutely.
I mean,
that was a normal part of life at 18, 19, 20.
Was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we even talked about that, how that gives us a leg up.
It does.
90% of people our age are waking up today posting, on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, it's Sunday Scaries. And it's like, the Sunday Scaries thing is kind of popular and like people buy into it. And even when I had Sunday Scaries, I never really bought into the idea of this was cool. Now we're fortunate enough to probably not have to have Sunday Scaries, whatever is happening with our DNA there, but
scary. But, yeah.
But I think it gave today we talked about it, we have a leg up. We spent, rather than getting up at 10 a.m., going downstairs, watch a movie, hang out, waste my day away, I woke up at 5:30, went to the gym, got our groceries done, went and worked out, and actually some of our boys came in to work out this morning on a Sunday, which is pretty unheard of, not mandatory. No, they just want to do it, but you're setting yourself up for so much success just by saying no.
That's a hard thing to do. We both, trust me, especially you have a hard time at saying.
Oh, I'm horrible at it, and I think that I've stretched myself so thin that I've been, and this is the thing that, this is kind of personal, but this is a thing that sort of has repeated itself in my head, is that I'm good at everything that I've done but great at nothing.
Yeah, can't. A jack of all trades is good at everything, but not a master of nothing.
Yeah, and that's sort of haunted me as I've grown up, is that I legitimately, if you look at what I've done in my athletic career, in my academic career, and even in my profession, I've been good at everything that I've done. Good, better than most, but great, like the 0.001% great at nothing. And so that's the one thing where, and I've found a profession that I want to be great at, right, in coaching, but and working towards that. But that is the one thing where the intention, being able to say no, this process has taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
I'm still horrible at it.
Yeah.
And it's something that I got to work on. But where does that courage, because it takes courage, I think. Where does the courage come from? Where does that strength come from telling one of your best friends, no, I can't, I'm not going out anymore, or I'm not going out this weekend because I have things to do, or maybe there is no reason. Maybe I just don't want to spend my life that way, my time that way anymore, or I don't want to pay the consequences of waking up on Sunday feeling absolutely miserable, right? It just lower than life. Where does that, how do you create that strength?
So I guess
that confidence.
For me personally, I've gotten really, really good at being able to say no recently.
Yeah.
And it's been within the last 3 weeks I've been able to say no. I think where it really comes from is I look at my goals. I want to be a professional bodybuilder. That is my number one goal in life. And I look at it as, how will this affect my goals? If I go out and drink tonight, where will I be in 6 months? Will this set me back 1%? Could it set me back 10%? And I guess that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I really try to align everything I do in life with my number one overall goal.
Yeah, and I think it all goes back to, where do you want to go, right? And are you adding to that process? Are you getting closer to the destination, or are you getting further away? Right.
It's that exponential compounding growth.
Yeah. So I think for me, I'm getting better at it. I'm getting a lot better at saying no, even in my my profession, and just throughout daily life of, can you do this? Well, I don't have time. It doesn't fit in my schedule.
My schedule that is planned by the minute.
Right.
Especially for you.
And so, I think you have to decide what is important.
Yes.
And the thing that scares us, I think, scares a lot of people from not saying no, is that, well, if I say no, I'll create disappointment within that relationship.
Right.
And then they either stop being my friend, or I hate disappointing people because that makes me feel bad.
I am the same way.
Right.
The way I do look at that, though, is we were talking about surrounding yourself with good people.
Yes.
If you do disappoint that person and they no longer want to be your friend, is that a person you really want to be around?
Correct.
Like, is that a person that's going to be there forever? Or is that a person that's going to be where they're at right now forever?
Correct. And I think, are they moving in the same direction? Right. And so we've got to be able to have enough confidence in ourselves to understand the value we bring to others' lives. And so, having that confidence and understanding that the true friends are the ones that hold you accountable.
Exactly.
Right. And I think even this whole process started with you moving in, and then on Sunday evening, the first Sunday you were here, I think we were like, man, let's do a hard 75.
Let's just do it.
And then out of it, the past 3 weeks with reflection and journaling and things of that nature, we decided, let's create a living record of this and understand how much process, or how much growth has been done in 2.5 months.
I agree with that. I mean, on all honesty, I wish we had a video recording of every
day.
second of our lives.
Yeah.
Because some of the conversations you and I do have that aren't on video, they could really be beneficial to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. And I think going back to surrounding yourself with the correct people, us living together has lifted the level of performance for me, just to be able to have somebody to hold me accountable. having my dad in my life, right? And even having, people who are better than you at things is really, really important, right? The idea of you should never be the smartest person in your friend group. When you are the smartest person in your friend group, then it's time to find better friends, right? And so, and we're lucky because we have siblings that are really good at what they do.
Yes.
And it's strange because they're different things.
We're all very different.
And so, we have people around us, and just for example, it's something that's very small, but we get to the fortunate thing to coach with a lot of our family, right? So my brother, my dad, and Cam, and my brother is so much more intelligent than me on the defensive side of the ball. That just being around him makes me a better coach because I understand how those guys think, right? And like someone who's as young as he is, but has in just a year had as much success as he's had, it raises my level. And so that's just a one example. We are completely different people. He's a blue collar guy that does blue collar jobs and is interested in that, right? And I have this whole world of education and coaching and everything sort of aligned there, and using my brain for everything really. And so, but then you have something that we align in, and then he makes me better at something that I want to be great at, right? And so that's just one example there. Of how surrounding yourself raises your level.
I see exactly what you mean right there, yeah.
And then I think, not to get into any relationship advice, but I think the most important, and I think there's studies, I'm not necessarily versed in this, but there are studies out there that do show that the most important decision for a man and the determinant of his success is who he decides to marry. And so being intentional in those regards, in those relationships, are very, very important, especially if you're ambitious.
Exactly.
I don't know if you have any take on that, but...
So, Spenel, we both, I'm sure you've known this as well as I do, surrounding yourself in those relationships with significant others that aren't the best relationships. I can really see how in the past it has brought me down. And I do see how choosing the right one does benefit most for success.
Yeah, and I think you got to understand that, like, they might be a great person. It's just, do they support you reaching your goals or not, right? And so, the biggest thing is being able to be supported by somebody who's okay with supporting another person, right? And like understanding how ambitious you are. Now, and it's going to change for every guy. Some people aren't as ambitious as we are, and don't necessarily. We want to accomplish big things, I think, and so you have to decide again, what do you want for yourself? But being able to be ambitious and have somebody to support those ambitions.
I like the idea that you keep iterating is support.
Yeah.
It's not a same person type relationship. It is a complementary relationship that supports one another rather than
there it is.
Same interests.
Yes, there it is. And I think that's misconstrued in popular media, right? Is like, I meet a girl who loves the same things that I do, and we do everything together, and then all of a sudden our life becomes one.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe a faulty way of seeing things, whereas the most successful relationships that I've witnessed in my life is that one person has their life and they lead it,
yes.
And they try to attain their goals and reach whatever what makes them happy, and then person two does the same thing, and all of a sudden what you've created are two people who have self-confidence and happiness, right? Because they're trying to get to their goals, and then we can come together and share that happiness.
Right, and those two goals could be completely opposite things. That's the great part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they could walk two completely separate walks of life, but if there's any intersection there, that's where they can support one another.
Right. And I think that's extremely important, because when you don't have somebody there that doesn't understand, why you're taking so much time to work on your goals, or why you're taking so much time to maybe even work on your other relationships, right? You've got to have people that are willing to understand that, especially for us, we have such a big family, right? I mean,
we're a tight family.
And we're a tight family, right? And so when, whoever decides that they're going to be with me, right, they have to be okay with having a busy household.
Yeah.
Because on Saturday or on Sunday, probably twice a month at minimum, there's going to be somebody with the last name Lambert, Allen, or Kelly rolling through the door.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's just, and I want, that's as part of one of my goals in life, is I want us to have the house that you all do go to,
right.
Because I believe in that, and I think having a home that is, especially as you raise children, having a home where they see this just this mesh of multiple people that have all decided that family is the most important thing in their lives, right? And leading that with intention, that raises a quality kid as well.
And that's a great standard to set.
Yeah.
That's how we were raised.
Right, yeah, it takes a village.
Us going to grandma's, it was everybody at grandma's at once. I mean, there could have been 15 of us on one couch.
Right, oh yeah.
Whether it was us and throw Deb and Ryan in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Not enough room, right? Too many people and not enough room, right? But that's just, you're forced to spend time together, which is great. And B, I should say forced, but yeah, kind of sometimes, right? And I think that B, you work on those relationships and building a close-knit family, and then to the point where, when we are all together, for those times, now that we have the possibility of futures and building those futures, we're all really on the same page of, we want our kids to hang out together, and we want that close-knit family where, we don't want to move across the nation.
No,
we're Ohio people, and we're family people.
Yeah, we are.
Right? I mean, that's
our biggest thing.
our link. Yeah.
It is. And I think I love that, because that is our biggest support system for all of us.
Oh, it's not even close. Yeah.
I think that's the spot where we surround ourselves with the greatest. I mean, I don't know an instance where I couldn't have came to you or any of your siblings for anything I needed in life.
Yeah.
As well as them coming to me or any of my siblings.
And I think that's also why maybe sometimes I struggle to hang on to friends at sometimes, because, man, I'm like, if you don't want to be, or even romantic relationships, right? If you don't want to be part of this, I've got 20 people or 25, 30 people that love me and will do anything for me, right? Yes. And so that support system has not only made us successful at a young age in life, however you define success, but in our terms, I would say quite successful with our goals and what we want to do in life, and has also built a huge amount of self-confidence and efficacy and the ability to do more things. Yeah, and so understanding that the process continues for us, and that the people that we choose to surround ourselves with, you've got to be part of a pretty special group. You've got to be able to match that love, passion, and support that we've gotten from a very, very young age.
Yeah, we've always had. Honestly, I think we've always had it.
Yeah, no, it's and that probably makes us difficult to be with. But I think it's important. I think we were raised to be ambitious and to have goals, and I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either. It's almost like neither of us grew up bad, but we were always raised to escape, go better, go bigger, go better.
Yes, and that your last name is tied within that legacy.
Yes.
Right? It's about being intentional with that legacy, understanding what the people had to do before us
Yes.
to get us to that level of support,
So where we are now.
and then how can we raise the bar?
Yes.
Right. And that is, unfortunately, I think that popular media is sort of creating a man that goes away from that a little bit, goes away from the legacy, and also goes away from being ambitious, because it just kind of, I don't know. It.
Yeah, I don't know
What-
the correct way to put this.
Yeah, because it's lonely, and B, it might hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
Right. I think and we're getting into some interesting territory,
Yeah.
but I think that it's certainly can be lonely. Leadership is lonely. It also has to be truth driven,
Yes.
and it also you have to have you have to have support, and you have to have followers, and because a leader without followers is just egotistical, right? I mean, he's not a leader at all, and so I think you have to have that support. And I don't know. I think we're getting away from being intentional,
I agree too. Yeah.
being ambitious.
Yeah. I think it's become. I'm trying to find the right way to put this.
Yeah.
More along the lines of leadership is such a broad term now.
Yeah. It's lost its meaning.
It's lost all meaning, and honestly, it's lost all intention. We don't raise great leaders nowadays.
Yeah.
It's kind of everyone's a leader of their own life.
Yes, and that sort of wild selfishness. That yes, nobody. There, in perspective, you can probably live the way that you want to live, and do whatever you feel like doing, and get through this life, and maybe even, unfortunately, be very successful with it.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if you lead your life that way, it is going to, when time does come, who is going to be around you?
Right.
And what do you want to look back on your life? Do I want to look back on my life and say I got famous because, or I was wildly successful because I could party and post it on YouTube? Or do I want to lead a life that is serving others?
I like where we're getting into now, because I'm a huge fan of Stoicism.
Yeah.
And that is the real idea behind it, is living with intention.
Yeah.
Having a purpose behind it, not straying away from your true intentions and your true goals, and not being that guy that's going to sit there and post videos of him drinking on YouTube.
Right.
Because there's too much of that nowadays, that guys are just getting famous. Guys and girls both are getting famous, whether that's a dance video on TikTok or...
It's strange, man. And unfortunately for young people, that's what they think is success,
Yeah.
right? And unfortunately, what we don't understand at a young age now is that the 1%, you don't know what they look like,
Right.
because, or even the top 5%. Yes, that is a very small group of the top 5%, absolutely.
Yeah.
But a majority of the top 5% that we're talking about are the people that live very, very humble. They live under their means, and that's why they're rich, B, have successful families, or successful in their relationships, and C, find happiness because they understand moderation, they understand intensity, or I'm sorry, in being intentional, and they understand that the idea of I can live however I want, right? That whole idea comes out of other people's opinions don't matter. And yes, that is true. But living however I want means that doesn't mean not taking care of myself.
Right. It's not going out and partying. It's not eating that large pizza once a night. It's how do I want to live to reach my goals of what I want to look like
Correct.
in 6 years.
What does freedom look like, right? Can I intentionally design my life so that, and this is an ongoing life thing, but so that in 5 years from now, I have the freedom that I want to obtain, right? The self-freedom, the financial freedom, am I able to support myself? Am I able to support others?
Yeah, I like
and
that
serve
idea of
others.
Freedom, because financial freedom to me, it's not being able to go out and drop 10 grand today, 10 grand tomorrow. That's not financial freedom to me. That is poor spending habits.
Yeah.
Financial freedom to me is having enough money saved up to where I have a hospital bill to pay. I can pay it.
Right.
I want to go on vacation. Well, I've saved up 6 grand. Let's go on vacation.
Correct. And be able to experience those things that I want to experience in life, right?
But I don't have to worry about my bills because
Correct.
this is money I put to the side.
Yes. And I think that's a big discrepancy that people our age are struggling with. And definitely people younger than us. I think it's a tough thing to get through because that's all you see. People who have been successful because they've been dumb.
Yes.
And maybe that's on purpose. But you don't know half of the 5%. You don't see them. And I think that's something that you have to understand in life, is that being able to be humble and intentional with your life is a much more fulfilling life than it is to be alone at the end of it.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
But all right, bud. Well, do you have anything else today?
All I think we should touch on today.
Yeah, I think just as a reminder, okay, if you're starting your process today, your 3 I's: intention, intensity, and iteration. You have got to be intentional with your schedule, with your eating habits, with your spending habits, and in your relationships. It is vital that you are planning what you do, that you're disciplined with what you do, and that you do what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
And it always helps to have an accountability partner, or to have 3 or 4 people. Even better if you can find 3 or 4 people to surround yourself with that support what you're doing, and even tell you, have enough courage to tell you like when you're messing up.
Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Yeah. So this is off the bench.
Yeah,
so we're gonna continue to figure this out, and to talk about life after sports.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, we just want to thank you for listening to Off the Bench. Not only your podcast for ex-athletes, but for those bettering themselves in their daily life and achieving their goals.